So when Islam encourages us to practice spirituality and to practice zuhud and not to immerse ourselves in materialism, the idea behind weakening our physical involvement with the world and identification with the world is to turn us away, just as Adam then turned away and came back to his Lord, and to sharpen our hearts or our spiritual antenna, if you like, so that we are now able to pick up signals from a higher realm of spirituality. When we do that, we begin to see our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we see our connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we realize our dependency on Him. When we realize our dependency on Him, we realize how poor and in need we are of Him. When we realize how poor and in need we are on Him, we begin to rely on Him and Him alone. When we rely on Him and Him alone, then our pride begins to vanish. When our pride begins to vanish, then our ego disappears. When our ego disappears, then we surrender and submit ourselves to Allah. When we submit and surrender ourselves to Allah, then we are in a state of peace and tranquility. And when we are in a state of peace and tranquility, then we are in Jannah. Salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And because everything in existence is pointing to Allah only, this is the whole idea behind creation. The mountain is pointing to Allah, the sun is pointing to Allah, the moon is pointing to Allah, you are pointing, everything is pointing to Allah. But in that analogy I gave earlier, instead of looking at the beautiful moon, we are looking at the finger that is pointing to the moon. So we keep forgetting that. Now, because everything in existence is pointing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, therefore, when we come to a higher state of awareness, not only do we become aware of Allah's presence, but we also are able now to see the reality of everything. That everything that appears to us is not in its real form, but we're now able to see the reality of other things, which is why you hear of mystics having the ability to, understand the language of birds and the language of animals, and to hear the tasbih of nature and of trees. And they tell us that when they reach a state of enlightenment, they feel this great sense of peace and tranquility, and there is a lot of light around the world, and they feel everything is connected, and they can hear the tasbih of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as if the entire universe is constantly singing and roaring with His praise. And it is for this reason, this ability to see the reality of things with these higher realms of spirituality, that Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi wa salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, he says, abstain from this world so that Allah may show you its reality. Do zuhud in this world, he says. Abstain from this world. Of course, zuhud has its own rules and conditions and so on, which I don't want to get in. But he says, abstain from this world so that Allah may show you its reality. Why? Because when you are immersed in it, you are completely identified with it. Now you can't see the forest from the trees. You will not be able to see the reality of everything in this world. You become then this petty human being fighting for survival. The little conflicts you experience on a day-to-day basis become big things for you and the purpose of life for you. But you were created for something greater and more magnificent. But you will not be able to see that until you're able to step out of that. Adam alayhi salam was superior to angels, and by extension human beings have that ability as well, because we say of his knowledge. But that knowledge is not theoretical or conceptual knowledge. It is the ability to fathom higher levels of awareness, that self-realization. You see, when you read those verses of Quran that talk about the angels protesting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and say, why did you create a creature that will cause bloodshed and cause violence on the earth while we are here doing your tasbih? Allah said to them, I know what you know not. Then to prove the point, He says, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءِ. He taught Adam the names. And then He said, He tested the angels and said, tell me the names of these if you are truthful. And they asked Adam, and Adam said the names to them. And when they heard Adam explaining the names to them, they said, سُبْحَانَكَ لَا عِلْمَ لَنَا إِلَّا مَا عَلَّمْتَنَا. Glory be to you, truly you were right in creating this creature. We have no knowledge except what you have given to us. Now, there are so many different issues that can be raised here. First of all, God teaches Adam but doesn't teach the angels and then puts them to test. Is that fair? Secondly, do you really believe that the only things he taught, because some of the classic mufassirun believe that Adam was taught the names of everything, that this is called a tree, and this is called a mountain, and this is called this, and this is called an apple, and this is called a deer, and then the angels didn't know them, and Adam was able to, like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire kind of a thing, and he was reading out all these names, and the angels were just wowed, and this guy knows the names of everything, You don't think the angels already knew the names of all these things? Even if we argue on the basis that some of the Shia Mufassirun have given us, and that has a strong validity but requires time, that the names that Adam was actually taught were the names of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad, alayhim afdalus salatu wassalam, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Can we ask
Even if we argue those were the names they were taught, it could not have simply been labels, that this is Muhammad and this is Ali and this is Fatima and this is Hassan and this is Hussein alayhimus salam, because the angels would have known that already. What blew away the angels, and the reason why they could not learn from God the way Adam was able to learn, is because Adam, when he re-explained what God taught him, it showed a level of awareness and realization and perception that escaped the angels. You see, I can teach a very deep philosophical statement to my 5-year-old, and he will memorize it, and he will stand before you, and he will read that out. And to encourage him, you might all say, wah, 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 subhanallah, subhanallah. But you immediately see that he does not know what he's talking about. Right? Now, the way I would explain it and the way he would explain it, you can see there's a level of difference. Then if you bring a philosopher, and the philosopher explains the same statement, you will feel like I'm the 5-year-old. You feel like he had no clue what he was talking about. This is knowledge. So when Adam reinterpreted and explained it, they were blown away by that ability to bring that full realization and full awareness to that knowledge. This is what we are after, that knowledge by presence.